when the strange sound at my door suddenly broke the silence of the evening. At first, I thought it was just the brutal wind throwing heavy branches against the wood. The blizzard outside was one of the worst we'd seen in the Colorado Rockies, with temperatures dropping way below zero. But then, I heard it again. It wasn't the wind. It was a persistent, heavy scratching, followed by a low, desperate sound. I grabbed my flashlight, my heart pounding. I slowly opened the heavy wooden door just a few inches, and my blood ran cold. Standing right there on my porch was a fully grown mountain lion, one of the most dangerous predators in North America. But my fear turned to absolute shock when I looked down. Hanging limply from her jaws was a tiny, motionless cub. My first instinct was pure panic. I wanted to slam the door shut. Mountain lions don't seek out humans. They avoid us at all costs. To have a wild apex predator come to a human dwelling meant something was terribly wrong. She didn't growl. She didn't bare her teeth. Instead, she looked up at me, and in her golden eyes there was no aggression, only pure, heartbreaking desperation. She gently dropped the cub onto the snow-covered porch and let out a soft, high-pitched chirp, a sound cougars make to their young. It was a plea for help. I took a deep breath, stepped back, and opened the door wider. Without hesitation, the massive cat walked right into my living room carrying her baby and laid him down on the rug right in front of the fireplace. As she settled in the light of the fire, the metallic smell of blood hit me. I finally saw the tragedy.
Clamped tightly around her front leg was a heavy, rusted steel trap.
It was a poacher's snare. She had managed to rip it from its anchor in the forest, but the heavy metal teeth were biting deep into her flesh. Dragging that weight, she couldn't hunt, she couldn't provide. Her cub was dying of starvation and the freezing cold. I knew one wrong move could cost me my life, but I had to act. I brought out my heavy bolt cutters and a medical kit. I knelt beside her, speaking in a low, soothing voice. She tensed up as I brought the cutters close to her injured leg, but incredibly, she didn't attack. She closed her eyes and just let me help. With a loud crack, the trap broke. I quickly cleaned her deep wounds and wrapped her paw. Then I turned to the cub. The little one was ice cold and barely breathing. I wrapped him in a thermal blanket, warmed up some milk, and spent the next 3 hours dropping it into his tiny mouth, one single drop at a time, gently massaging his throat to help him swallow. The mother mountain lion watched my every move. At one point, she shifted her weight, reached out, and rested her heavy, warm head right on my knee. In that moment, the line between wild beast and human completely vanished. We were just two souls fighting to save a life. By morning, the cub opened his eyes and let out a tiny squeak. He was going to make it. But I wasn't done. I contacted the Fish and Wildlife Service, giving them the exact description of the illegal trap. Within 2 days, rangers tracked the poacher's trail in the woods and arrested the men responsible. The forest was safe again. For nearly a month, my cabin turned into a wild animal sanctuary. The mother's leg fully healed, and her cub turned into a playful, energetic little furball who loved attacking my shoelaces. But as the winter snow began to melt, I knew what I had to do. They belonged to the wild. On a bright, sunny morning, I opened the front door wide. The mother mountain lion stepped out into the crisp mountain air. She paused, turned around, and walked back to me. She gently pressed her wet nose against my hand, letting out one final, soft purr. It was her way of saying thank you. The cub trotted after her, and together they disappeared into the thick pine forest. I stood there for a long time, fighting back tears, knowing I had done the right thing. A year passed, It was late autumn, and I was hiking a familiar trail deep in the mountains. I stopped to drink from a stream when I felt that I was being watched. I looked up. Standing on a rocky ridge about 50 yards away were two mountain lions. One was a majestic, fully grown female. Beside her stood a strong, healthy young male. We locked eyes. I didn't reach for my bear spray. I just stood still. The mother slowly lowered her head in a silent greeting. The young male let out a familiar, soft chirp. They remembered. They had come to show me that they were alive, strong, and together. After a few breathtaking seconds, they turned and vanished into the trees. They say nature is cruel and unforgiving, but that night, a desperate mother crossed the boundary of fear for the love of her child and taught me the greatest lesson of trust I will ever know.